apparently never heard from Bobby again, never saw the money, never saw the music. He was just kind of left high and dry. And you know, Bobby ran off and he probably spent that money on dope, spent it on crack, you know, smoked it all. So yeah, I'll tell you what it was like to see Pentagram live. It was pretty sweet. I had no idea the significance of seeing a band like Pentagram at the time that I saw them. You know, I knew they were like this band from the 70s. They made doom. They were like the American Black Sabbath, basically, only lesser known. You know, they were very obscure. And then with the internet, people got interested in them and new people discovered their music, and it kind of like revitalized the interest in the band, revitalized and revived their career. That's really all I knew. I hadn't yet seen the documentary Last Days Here, which, if you haven't seen it, by the way, you should. It's fantastic. It's probably one of the greatest music documentaries ever made. It's this super fan of Pentagram. He really wants to get the band back together, and he's trying to like herd cats, basically. And you've got Bobby, the singer. He is like 55 years old. He's living in his mother's basement. He's shooting up heroin. He's smoking crack. He just doesn't have his shit together at all. Complete train wreck, disaster. He has a reputation for not showing up to Pentagram shows. You know, Pentagram's on the bill. Everyone's going to this show to see Pentagram. They're all excited. And then Bobby doesn't even show up. So having seen the documentary now, you know, in hindsight, I realize, like, man, I was really lucky to have seen Pentagram. Really lucky that Bobby showed up actually and performed. I mean, really, we're all lucky that he's alive at all, even with all the heroin and crack that he's doing. But yeah, I mean, the band sounded great, and that's not what surprised me. What surprised me was seeing this old, frail, maniacal, white, frizzy-haired ghoul in hippie clothes taking the stage and rocking the mic. It was a trip. Like, I knew the band was old, but goddamn, this guy looked like he just busted out of a nursing home. His cheeks were sucked in, his face was gaunt, his eyes were bulging out of his head like his brain was gonna explode. He looked like he was tweaking his ass off, and you know his loaded ass was feeling the music. He was like caressing himself and humping the amplifiers. It was kinda hilarious, but it sounded better than I would expect. I mean, like, it still sounded a little rough. I mean, he's old, right? But based on his appearance, I mean, he looks like a corpse reanimated through the magic powers of methamphetamine. And it sounded pretty dang good, all things considered. The band sounded huge, man. The riffs were dark and heavy, and they sounded great. It was very compelling. It was all very compelling, and, you know, the crowd was big. They were into it. Everybody was boogieing and headbanging and having a good time. But one thing that did stick out to me about the audience is there was a guy next to me, kind of a nerdy fella. We were talking before the show started. Before the show started, he was saying to me, how back in the day, I guess Bobby had claimed that there were like some old Pentagram demos or old rare Pentagram records, you know, from like their back catalog, and he was willing to let them go for a price. And so this guy handed Bobby the money for these rarities, and he apparently never heard from Bobby again, never saw the money, never saw the music. He was just kind of left high and dry. And you know, Bobby ran off and he probably spent that money on dope, spent it on crack, you know, smoked it all. And yet here the guy is, having been personally ripped off by Bobby, at least according to him, allegedly, and he's there supporting the band and jamming out and throwing the horns up for this guy that ripped him off. I mean, fans are funny like that, man. They really are. But anyway, yeah, I mean, the show was great. The band sounded great. They played pretty much all of their best songs, everything I knew of by them, you know, that I wanted to hear. It was definitely probably a crowd-pleasing set. And then after the show, you know, this was at the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas, and the rumor has it that after the show, Bobby took to the casino floor, all up. He was like a cracked out, mischievous little elf, just going around and causing all sorts of trouble. You know, there were some pretty funny tales from that night that, you know, who knows how true they are, but the rumors from that night are pretty funny. And anyway, when I originally wrote this video a long time ago, I had said, you know, after that, it was all downhill for Pentagram. Bobby got into some trouble. He got arrested for elder abuse against his mom, which is not a good look. They had said they were working on a new album, but then the new album never came out. So I had kind of, you know, I wrote Pentagram off. I thought it was pretty much, it was over for them, you know, but very recently, they've been getting announced for some shows and some tours. They're opening for Phil Anselmo's death metal band Scour in New Orleans, which is kind of funny because in the documentary, Bobby meets with Phil to sign to his record label, and Phil doesn't end up signing the band, probably because he could tell that Bobby was a junkie that didn't have his together. I mean, Phil would know. And, you know, they're also doing Levitation Fest. They're playing Levitation with The Sword, who's making a comeback. They're also doing Maryland Death Fest. So it seems like Pentagram is kind of getting some new momentum and some new traction. We'll see where it goes. Hopefully Bobby shows up. If you're willing to take a risk, you know, take a flyer on that, I would say that Pentagram is worth seeing.
Shout out to Scour. It's performing their only show of 2024, November 1st in New Orleans, Louisiana at the Southport Music Hall. Special guest is Pentagram, Exhorter, and Sounding. Be there or be square. No, honestly, be there.